So today I'm just going to talk ad hoc about something that's going on in my mind about the importance of being able to face uncomfortable feelings for progress in one's spiritual life. Let's look at the Vedantic model. The Vedantic model points out that we are conscious beings, full, whole, and complete. We don't know it means there is ignorance about that. Because there is ignorance about that, we identify with the body mind complex and take it to be I. And the body mind complex is limited. And so there is a sense of limitation. That sense of limitation is unbearable. And so there are great feelings of dissatisfaction, of, you know, you can say dissatisfaction. That dissatisfaction creates a desire for the feeling of completeness, wholeness, but not knowing where to find that wholeness or not recognizing that the wholeness is oneself. There is this desire for wholeness, which is then projected onto anything and everything, that it will make me whole. There's a lot of projection takes place. So, in the first step itself, one does not face the feeling of discomfort and make an inquiry. Straight away, there is a projection onto the external world uh, that anything out there is going to make me. It's very unconscious, it just happens automatically. And from there, from those projections, uh, stems a whole, you know, a whole chaos in terms of all kinds of emotions, anger, hurt, fear, sadness, greed, jealousy, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, iti. And the mind becomes just filled with these kind of vrittis and one subscribes to them and lives a life within those parameters, you know, of being a small body mind sense complex separate from everything else. So now when we study Vedanta, the study of Vedanta itself can become a escape from having to feel uncomfortable feelings. So it's very important to be able to see through the whole maya over here and recognize the importance of facing uncomfortable feelings and letting them go in the light of this knowledge that one is nothing but self revealing, self existent consciousness that is infinite, whole. That knowledge itself can give us the strength to face uncomfortable feelings. Now, for example, we can take any emotion, okay, like guilt, or we can take an emotion like anger, or let me work with guilt. I'm just as an example. Now, the feeling of guilt, when it is chronic, can create a lot of havoc in the body, because all these emotions which take place in our mind actually set off a whole body chemistry, a body chemistry of stress hormones, uh, which sets off a whole, you know, another whole chain of health issues. So you have the emotion of chronic guilt. It sets off a whole body chemistry, creating a lot of issues in the body. Now, if you want a long term solution of those issues in the body, you're going to have to look at the emotion. But the emotion is so uncomfortable, you don't want to look at it. And therefore, you distract yourself. You know, you may distract yourself by studying Vedanta, you may distract yourself by anything. That distraction can again cause another series of, you know, emotional disruptions. Eh? So now, supposing here is a person who has begun to understand what Vedanta is saying, that yes, and has insight and has some glimpses, you can say, that yes, my nature is pure consciousness. And now has understood the whole cycle that is taking place. Then that person can uh, allow themselves, you know, instead of distracting themselves with anything, can look at that emotion right in the face, allow themselves to feel it in the body wherever it is. It will be pretty intense. Allow all those uncomfortable feelings just staying with them, and when you stay with them and you let it go. Why do you let it go? You don't hold on to it because it's not your truth. Why should you hold on to it? But in as much as it is there pent up at the body level and at the mind level, you need to acknowledge it, face it, and let it go. I think it's possible, very easily possible, to let it go when you clearly understand what is happening here. The whole process. You clearly see what happened. So behind the guilt, what is there? Behind the guilt is inappropriate action. Why was there inappropriate action? Because of wrong understanding. And that even before wrong understanding, because of uncomfortable feelings which one did not want to face. Why were there uncomfortable feelings? Because of wrong understanding. And then understanding that these uncomfortable feelings actually create a body chemistry. And therefore, it's important to face the uncomfortable feelings. So, behind the guilt is the sense of dissatisfaction with oneself. So, you face the dissatisfaction with yourself. Ask yourself, where in the body is that sensation being felt, the sense of dissatisfaction with oneself? It will be felt somewhere in the body. Focus on that part of the body. Let your attention be there, allowing yourself to feel that discomfort, and it will dissipate. And as we do this, you know, it is the strength of our knowledge of ourselves being consciousness in whose presence these uncomfortable feelings are illuminated, which allows us to do that. And so, when we do that, there is a great benefit. It loosens, it loosens that sense of identification, the strength of the identification with the uncomfortable feelings. And as that identification, and it loosens also the strength of identification with the belief that one is the body mind sense complex. And with that, you know, loosening, what happens is one's knowledge of oneself, being, consciousness that is free, that is whole, that is infinite, and that is distinct from the body mind sense complex. And yet, the basis of all that is becomes more and more clear. So I think it's very vital for a spiritual seeker to cut through, you know, with maybe the sword of discrimination and the sword of knowledge and the strength born of that, to see things as they are. Om Harihi Om Tat Sat.